Welcome back into the Pick and Roll NBA podcast with Jet and Sap, presented by FullPressCoverage.com. Today we're going to try something out a little bit new. Maybe we'll be making it a permanent feature because Sap and I are very amenable to doing different things. We're adjustable people. So lightning round, Sap. That's what we're going to do today. The classic game show format of lightning round. You give an opinion or an answer. I give an opinion and answer. We move on. No further discussion. I know that's a little difficult for both of us because we both tend to be a little long-winded, but I think we should give it a try. So to kick off the lightning round, Sap, let's start with a local story. Kemba Walker and the Celtics headed for a breakup this offseason. Buy or sell, I guess? We can do a little PTI, or not PTI, around the horn. That's what they do, right? Buy or sell?
Yeah.
Are they headed for a breakup?
I'll be Tony Kornheiser. You could be Michael Wilbon. How's that sound?
Good. Okay. Deal.
Although I should be Wilbon because I am a little pudgier and I have diabetes. So maybe that's something that I have in common with Tony Wilbon. And you and Tony Kornheiser, I think, are of the same persuasion. Am I okay to say that?
Is Tony Kornheiser Jewish?
Yes.
Oh, well, then yes, he's part of the tribe. Okay. We're both part of the tribe.
All right. And then me and Michael Wilbon are on this
Italian,
side.
as everybody knows.
As everybody knows that. He took the vowel off the end of his name, and it was something else. We'll do this exercise to just force us into shorter takes, so we're not doing 17 minutes on one subject and boring the hell out of our listeners and ourselves at the same time, because we do like to talk. I'm up for this breakup. I mean, Kemba Walker came here. I think he was damaged goods when they got him. It was kind of a panic move by the Celtics because they had lost Kyrie Irving. So they decided, well, let's get a guy who's different than Kyrie Irving. He's a nice guy. He seems to get along with everybody. Well, after 1 year, it appears Danny Ainge wanted to trade him, which pissed Kemba Walker off. So this all falls back to Danny Ainge. Like, it can't be all of these players' issues. It's got to be Danny Ainge, right? Because Al Horford decided to leave. Gordon Hayward wanted out. Kyrie wanted to get the hell out of here. Kemba Walker wanted to get out of here now after just 2 years.
This was an issue with Ray Allen, if you remember, Sep, the exact same thing.
And I remember when people were saying about Ray Allen, well, I can't ever like him again because he went to Miami. Every single season, I know, he did help my guy win an NBA championship. Although, LeBron in Game 7 of that series, I do remember at 35 and 15.
No, it doesn't matter.
Good, right?
It was a shot.
It was the shot heard around the world with no fans in the stands because everybody kind of bailed out on that Heat team.
Great fans
Miami fans will do. But I think that what happens here is that, with Ray Allen, is that every year at the trade deadline, it was a rumor that he was going to get moved. And then he didn't like Rondo, and maybe he didn't get along with Paul Pierce or Kevin Garnett. So when he was a free agent, he moved. Players want to do that, go right ahead. So this has got to be a Danny Ainge issue. So now Brad Stevens, the president of basketball operations, until he accepts some sort of coaching job in the NBA, which I think could be sooner than later. I still believe in that. Especially now that the Pacers have a vacant opening when Nate Bjorkgren got fired after 1 year. But go ahead, make a move. I mean, but you're going to have to eat some of his salary, I would think, and probably give some draft capital to get his contract off your books. If that's the case, then so be it. Then you have to start fresh somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem if even if the Kemba thing with Ainge wasn't a factor, I think the Celtics would be trying to, get rid of him because the contract is so burdensome, and the timeline of him doesn't really fit with Brown and Tatum's timeline. He's, older than them, so they want to try to get younger. Maybe if you can get more depth by clearing him and getting, more pieces, maybe that will help. So regardless of whether he's upset or not with Celtics management, and Ainge is gone, but most of the rest of the front office remains in place. Brad Stevens obviously was here as the coach, so I don't know that just clearing Ainge makes Kemba Walker feel good about where he stands with the Celtics. It seems like it's almost a foregone conclusion. The one snag is, what are the Celtics willing to have to give up in order to clear the contract? If they're not willing to add multiple first-round picks, they may not be able to find a buyer. Now, there's always dumb teams out there who are just like, maybe we can get Kemba Walker for a healthy for a season or two, and he'll take us over the top. That's a possibility. So you have to really see what the trade market bears, but I think he's almost certainly gone this offseason, Sap.
Yeah, he'll be gone. Maybe Oklahoma City, picks them up because they're always looking for bad contracts because they can offset them. And maybe you send them a first and a second or whatever the case may be. But I think his days in Boston are numbered.
Okay, this is something you sent to me that I actually haven't heard, and I feel like I'm pretty plugged into Celtics Twitter, and I haven't heard it, that Jason Tatum prefers Jay Larranaga of all the candidates to be the next head coach of the Celtics.
Yeah, I heard this on talk radio, so it must be true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Jason Tatum likes Jay Larranaga. So Larranaga's coached under Brad Stevens, so you're getting the same vibe that you'd get from Larranaga that you got from Brad Stevens. And what's the point of that? That's like a lateral move. I'm all for Chauncey Billups, who I believe is going to be interviewed by Portland for that vacant position after Terry Stotts got fired by the Trailblazers. I'm all about Billups or Sam Cassell or any former player that is really invested in being a coach to be the next coach of the Boston Celtics. But this is something that was just pushed forward on talk radio, that Tatum likes Larranaga and that Tatum's mom is somewhat involved in some of these decisions. Now, that does sound outlandish, but this is the NBA. Wouldn't surprise me, right? I mean, Uncle Dennis, Kawhi Leonard's uncle, got Kawhi out of San Antonio and then got him to Toronto and then got him from Toronto to the Clippers as a free agent. This is the NBA. This isn't the NFL where,
right, we all know LeBron's people, Worldwide Wes and all those different guys he's got going on.
It's the way the league works. I mean, Anthony Davis's father a couple of years ago said, I would not want to see my son play in Boston. So that was the end of that. So I don't think it's that far-fetched. And I know Jason Tatum's mom she's very accomplished. She's a lawyer. I think she's very, very close with her son, as she should be. I think Jason's kind of a mama's boy, which is nothing wrong with that. I was. But I'm also not a great NBA player, so he can kind of, pull those strings if necessary. And if Tatum's running this organization and he wants Jay Larranaga, I guess you go along with it. Is Tatum good enough to be that guy that has a big say in what goes forward as far as the next coach or whatever other moves that the Celtics want to make? He's not LeBron James. He's not Kevin Durant or any of those uber great players, but is he the guy that you say, okay, we're going to have to build around this guy and please him, which may include going and get Bradley Beal. If you have any opportunity for that, you do it, but what would you have to give up for that? But look, I'm all about Chauncey Billups and Sam Cassell. Those are the first two names that I think of as the next coach of the Celtics. Hiring the assistant coach to become the head coach, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't either. As far as your question to Tatum goes, obviously the Celtics need to do whatever they can to make him happy, but what will make him happiest is if the team is successful. So right. if they this is why it's such an uncomfortable and weird position, because Brad Stevens is now judging his assistant coaches, and so I don't think he can really make an informed decision on if Jay Larranaga is the best for the future of the team. As far as can he carry them, because then he would have to carry them further than what Brad Stevens did, basically carry them to the championship round. So that's sort of a mess there. I've always been pro hiring an ex-coach, especially a black ex-player. I think that's really good. I think Jay Larranaga, no disrespect to him, if the Celtics are going to hire a white head coach now, who's an assistant coach and all these black assistant coaches who don't get elevated to head coaches, that becomes a problem too. With all this Kyrie stuff and the race stuff talking about Boston, the Celtics just would seem so ignorant and oblivious to everything that's going on in terms of this discussion. Like, they might as well just fold up shop. Honestly, Jay Larranaga may be a very good coach, and he may be a very good coach somewhere else, but it shouldn't be here. Even if Jason Tatum wants him, it sends the wrong message. The Brad Stevens being elevated to the GM role, president of basketball operations, whatever you want to call it, already, I think, sent kind of a tone-deaf message. And they would just be so much better off with a guy who played in the league, especially a black guy who played in the league. They need to do some damage control here. And really, honestly, it's partially Danny Ainge's fault because he made some ignorant comments, but it's mostly Kyrie Irving's fault. So unfortunately, Kyrie Irving, from Brooklyn is sort of dictating what the Celtics almost have to do now. I just don't see how they can hire a white head coach. I don't. And frankly, I think it's a good idea for them to hire a black head coach, regardless of the race discussion. I just think they'll help relate to the players better.
Yeah, without question. You get the feeling Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn has a voodoo doll of Lucky the Leprechaun, and he just keeps sticking pins in it, and it just seems to do a lot of damage. But we'll see what happens here. I hope they hire the coach. sooner rather than later. But in the NBA, you can kind of wait till into the offseason. It's like the NFL where you want to get someone in place right away. You want to get the right guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of these guys are still coaching right now because their teams are still in it. So, the other name that we've heard is Mike D'Antoni, who is I like him as a head coach. His teams are fun, but he hasn't had a lot of postseason success. I've heard that he wants to go to Portland, so let him go to Portland. I think that would be a mutually good fit. All right, next lightning round topic, Sep. We know that Nikola Jokic has won the MVP award now. But upon receiving that, you also get the list of how the voting broke down amongst the media. And Derrick Rose actually received a single first place vote for MVP, shocking everyone. It turns out that this was the fan vote for MVP, which I didn't even know was a thing you could do. But still, what are the fans doing here, Sap?
Well, it's the biggest market. It was a nice story, but you would think fans are a little bit more knowledgeable than that. And look, I love Derrick Rose. Always have as a player. His whole story of, starting out his career in his hometown with Chicago and being that successful. And then the unfortunate injuries that he sustained, comes back and is a really nice piece for the Knicks coming off the bench. I mean, he was in contention for Sixth Man of the Year, but not MVP. Look, you want to always get the fans involved. I get that. So it's organic, and this is who they selected. I don't think Nikola Jokic was going to be the unanimous MVP. He got my vote if I had a vote. And he won comfortably. I think he had 91 out of 100 first place votes, which is pretty dominant. I think even more so than Giannis last year, where I think Giannis got 82 first place votes and LeBron got 17, and there was one other first place vote in there. But this I didn't really know much about till I saw it, and I still don't understand it. You would think the fans are a little brighter than that, but again, big market. Maybe Knicks fans are like, "Wow, we're in the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. Let's."
It wasn't even their best player.
Stuff the ballot, but no, Julius Randle deserved more consideration than Derrick Rose. I don't know. Was there a glitch in the system? Did Vladimir Putin hack the system? I don't know. It was bizarre.
Here's where I stand on it, Sep. I'm more punitive than you, and I hold grudges longer than you. I think that the fans should have their ability to vote for MVP now removed.
Okay.
If you cannot be trusted to take the process seriously, then you do not get to have the honor of voting for MVP. I'm sorry. You've lost your privilege, fans. Same goes for Hall of Fame voters in baseball. I see this happen all the time. We'll throw a vote for somebody who shouldn't even sniff the Hall of Fame. They'll throw a vote for Johnny Damon or something. Oh, yeah, he was nice to me in the media room. You lose your vote. You're done. Yeah, sorry. Take it seriously or don't do it at all.
They'll check off one name, and it's Johnny Damon or JT Snow, really good players. I've seen them get votes to get into the Hall of Fame.
Jesus Christ.
And then that's it. And that's sometimes the only name they check off. And it's like, are you taking this seriously? I mean, the BBWA has a lot of voters that don't even watch baseball anymore. They covered it 25 years ago. I don't know if they would know who the best player in the game is now. Obviously Mike Trout, but do they even know about Fernando Tatis or any of the other great young players in baseball? And they're voting for the Hall of Fame. And then they just select some somewhat obscure player that you're like, how's that guy even on the ballot? Meanwhile, they're not going to vote for more deserving players. Yeah, I get you. That's fine. Take it away from the fans. But, the NBA needs the fans, and you want to appeal to them. But you're not going to offend the entire fan base if you take this away from them. It was just a bizarre story.
2 years suspension.
2 year suspension. No voting for you.
If you don't take it seriously, you don't get to do it. That's my opinion on it. Again, same goes for the baseball Hall of Fame voters or any Hall of Fame voters. If you're going to put in JT Snow as a serious candidate, that proves to me you do not deserve it. So you're off the BBWA. You can never vote for the Hall of Fame again. Shamed.
Okay.
You should shame these people. All the fans who voted for Derrick Rose as MVP should also be shamed. I like Derrick Rose. It's a great story. Take the voting seriously. This is a very serious business, Sap.
It is.
The NBA is an important thing in our lives, and I will not have it be disgraced by dumb New York fans voting for Derrick Rose for MVP. Shame on all of them. NBA, Adam Silver, if you're listening, take it away from the fans. Give it to me. I'll be representative of the fans. I would have voted for Jokic too, so he would have gotten even more votes, Sap. We talked about this a little bit the other day, Sap. Rudy Gobert won Defensive Player of the Year, surprising nobody. I know neither you nor I agree with this, but he was the overwhelming winner of it wasn't even close. Ben Simmons finished second, the guy who you and I both had as the best Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, Ben Simmons is the best defensive player in basketball because he can cover any opposing player. You could put him on Trae Young, and that's what Philadelphia did for a big portion of Game 2 in their playoff series. You can have him cover a power forward. He can even cover people in the low post because he's 6'10", 250 pounds, a great athlete. I think he's the best defensive player in the league. And we've both always agreed that the wing defenders, especially the way the NBA is now, are the most important ones because they can cover a multitude of players. The rim protector is all well and good, but there's not a lot of action at the rim like there was in other times in the NBA. And Gobert's outstanding. We saw him block Marcus Morris's potential game-tying shot in Game 1. Great play there. But Ben Simmons, to me, deserved this. I just wonder, and again, all these ballots and votes, et cetera, they're organic, right? So it's not like the league gets together and says, you know what, Utah had the best record. Donovan Mitchell didn't even really get a sniff for MVP. Quinn Snyder finished third in coaching. So let's give it to Rudy Gobert as Defensive Player of the Year. You normally see the team with the best record get something. So that's what they're getting. If they given out Sixth Player of the Year,
they did. Clarkson won it.
Clarkson won that. So
2
Utah Jazz, which is great. And Clarkson, I think, deserved that. And again, this, Sixth Man of the Year generally is the guy who can come off the bench and light it up. And that's
Ingles finished second. I mean, so they had six. So they had both of them. The two,
and like we said,
just like the Clippers last year had the two guys.
Clippers had top two. Yeah, with Harrell. Oh, well, the Lakers had 2 guys from last year with Harrell and Dennis Schroeder. That both sucked for the Lakers this year. But maybe that's the case. I would have voted for Ben Simmons, as you would have.
Yeah, I see John Hollinger, who sometimes drives me a little crazy on Twitter, making fun of people who are saying that Gobert can't defend the perimeter. It's not that he can't. For his position, he's very good at defending the perimeter, right, but he's not nearly as good as Ben Simmons is at it. So, that's
no.
It's just if Utah, the game is around the 3-point line now, Sep. The game used to be around the paint, and Defensive Player of the Year would be guys who defended the paint. Now the game is based around the 3-point line. It should be guys who defend the 3-point line. It's logical sense to me.
Yeah, Dikembe Mutombo won this thing countless times, as did Ben Wallace. Great. They're, interior defenders.
Gobert's going to get in the Hall of Fame now, Seth, by the way, because of these awards.
Yeah. And if Utah makes a run here, then that could be the case. I mean, Ben Wallace is now in the Hall of Fame. And look, the Basketball Hall of Fame, everybody gets in, so I don't have really an issue with Ben Wallace getting in. I actually wrote a column a year ago of players that I think should be in, and Chris Webber was the first one. Ben Wallace was up there, so they're both in. That's great. Mutombo's already in there. Yeah, Rudy Gobert is going to get into the Hall of Fame because now he's won this award 3 out of the last 4 years. He's a really good player. He does some other things for you. He's not a real offensive force, but could Rudy Gobert lock up Trae Young if Atlanta plays Utah in the finals? No.
Dribble under his legs.
Can. Yeah, he pretty much would, and pound his chest and take a bow as he floats one in over everybody. But no, Ben Simmons to me is the best defender in the sport, just by virtue of the fact that he can guard multiple positions.
Right. Well, you say, okay, defend the other team's best player. 9 times out of 10 in the NBA now, it's a wing player. It's just not a big. Right. I mean, so Gobert's never really on the other team's best player that often.
And his marquee game was against Joel Embiid, who stuffed him in the basket for 42.
Yeah. And I'm glad we keep mentioning that because I haven't heard that discussion at all. Everybody's, praising Rudy Gobert, and, he won the award, so give him praise. But no one's mentioning that his biggest game of the year to prove his defensive prowess that he was embarrassed. So, all right, Rudy Gobert wins Defensive Player of the Year again. Sep, Robert Horry said that Hakeem Olajuwon was better than Shaq. Frankly, I'm not that outraged by that. I don't necessarily agree, but it's certainly not that ridiculous of a statement.
No, and you know how I like to rank the players. I always kind of update and tweak my top 30 of all time. In the top 10, I have 3 centers. I have Bill Russell at 3, Kareem at 4, and Wilt at 5. Those to me are the 3 greatest centers in the history of the sport. I think they're significantly better than anyone else that played the position. At 13, 14, and 15, I have 3 more centers. I have Moses Malone at 13. He's one of the most forgotten players in the history of the league. He won the damn MVP 3 times. He was phenomenal. You can make a case Moses Malone was the best player in basketball for a 3-4 year period. At 14, I have Hakeem Olajuwon. At 15, I have Shaq. So I think they're really close, but I'm going to agree with Robert Horry that I would take Hakeem over Shaq. Hakeem, to me, was a better defender, more durable. I also think he took the game more seriously. Shaq would take the off season off literally. Like if he had some sort of ailment, he would not rehab till the next season because he said, I'm going to rehab on your time, not my time. And I think in some sense, as great as Shaq was, he kind of underachieved a little bit, whereas Olajuwon got the most of what he had. Olajuwon was playing when Jordan was dominating, right? I mean,
Right.
that kind of closed everybody else, and he won 2 titles when Jordan was gone. Shaq did play Olajuwon in the NBA Finals in 1995, and although that was only Shaq's 3rd year, Olajuwon destroyed him.
Right.
Again, Olajuwon was in his prime, and Shaq was in his 3rd year. But I would take Olajuwon slightly ahead of Shaq, also because I think he's had more of an impact on the game. Like there's no next Shaq. Like there's not guys 7'2", 350 pounds with that agility. There's just not. Whereas there are guys, and Embiid being one of them, who look somewhat like Hakeem Olajuwon, like that athletic big. So I would give Olajuwon. And look, Robert Horry played with both of them. He won 2 titles with Hakeem, and he won 3 with the Lakers and Shaq and Kobe. So he would know. And also, you can have this discussion, was it more Kobe, more Shaq? I think it was more Shaq than Kobe, but they had each other. Olajuwon won 2 titles. This first one, who was his second best player? Was it Otis Thorpe? I mean, he didn't have a great number 2. His second championship, he did have Clyde Drexler. Clyde Drexler was probably his second best player in his second title, but Drexler was already in the league 12, 13 years. He wasn't quite in his prime. I would take Olajuwon over Shaq. Yeah, and also a big difference is Olajuwon could hit 70% of his free throws. Shaq was a 50% free throw shooter.
Yeah, I take Shaq slightly ahead of Olajuwon just because, and this isn't necessarily fair, but the 2 titles that Olajuwon did win, like you mentioned, Jordan wasn't in the league. So if Jordan was, I don't know that Olajuwon ever wins a championship. Not really fair, but for the purposes of this argument, I'm still going to make that argument. But it's certainly close, and Robert Horry, more so than anybody, probably can speak to this with more education and knowledge than anybody on the planet can, because he played with both of those guys. So I think you could take him as word. I think people get so up in arms about this because Shaq is so like omnipresent. He's in commercials. He's on the TNT show. He's Shaq. He's this huge personality. Maybe you see Hakeem Olajuwon once a year on the sidelines at a Rockets game, in a normal non-pandemic year. So it's not like he's in your face all the time. Shaq's constantly reminding you of, oh yeah, Shaquille O'Neal. There he is on this commercial for Ben Gay. There he is for Icy Hot, wherever he pitches. There he is on TNT.
Anything.
He's everywhere. Papa John's. So you're like, well, yeah, this guy's on all these commercials and shows. Yeah, I remember Shaq. He's awesome. He's one of the greatest players ever. And so he gets elevated. So people get upset. But really, if you look at him, it's very close. And I don't think you can go wrong either way.
My response is I would take Olajuwon over Shaq by just a little, but I'd take Moses Malone over both.
Okay, yeah, totally. I think totally fair. Sap, moving on in the lightning round, your guy, LeBron, changing his number back to his Miami Heat 6 from 23. Just tell me why he's doing this.
Sales? Could it be sales? Okay. Is he wearing 6 in his movie? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on with Space Jam 2. The Looney Tunes
need numbers? I think they just have names in the back.
I don't know if LeBron wants numbers. Maybe they put numbers on. Look, when he came into the league, he wore 23, which I thought was a mistake. Like, get your own number. I know he idolized Michael Jordan. And again, Jordan, has never accepted him. I mean, Jordan loved Kobe, never embraced LeBron. So he wore 23. Then when he goes to Miami, he wears 6. The first player I think of with number 6 is Bill Russell. But again, this is a different organization, so go ahead and wear 6. I'm not a big numbers guy, Jed. I'm really not. I mean, like, I don't own many, jerseys with players' numbers on it. I know the great players' numbers, but sometimes they get blurred in my, complicated mind. So it's not a big deal for me. Is it for sales? Is it for the movie? Is it just maybe I want to get the last year out of my mind with COVID and the team losing in the first round, so let's get a new number. I know Anthony Davis wore 23 when he was in New Orleans, and they had talked about in the summer of 2019, the year that Anthony Davis went to the Lakers, that he was going to get 23 and LeBron was going to wear 6, but now Anthony Davis wears 3. He likes it. If I was LeBron when I came in the league, I would have worn number 33. I did research research on this. The area code in Akron, that's his hometown, and he's still very close there. Still loves that hometown and is very much engaged there. So the area code is 330. So go with number 33. Now, Larry Bird wore 33. You're probably not going to create your own number at some point, but yeah, go with 33. Or I would have went with 25 because the natural progression would be Jordan 23, Kobe 24, and LeBron 25.
Right. Was Kobe 24 when LeBron came into the league, or was he still 8?
I can't remember.
What year
Didn't he flip back a couple of times? Yeah. So, I mean, and again, I'm not a real numbers guy, but
by the way, LeBron is wearing 6 in the movie. The Toon Squad jersey is number 6.
That's what it is. That's what I thought. I thought that's what the case may be. So, yeah, I mean, he's promoting the movie at this point.
Does it have anything to do with Jordan? Yes or no? Just quick yes or no. Right now. I know originally, obviously, it did.
Maybe he wants to get away from Jordan. So
that's what I'm saying. That's if it's yes, then it's 6. If it's no,
could be. He's chasing a shadow. He's chasing a ghost
who won't even engage with
him. Yeah, I mean, it's just how frustrating must that be for LeBron in a sense of like LeBron knows he's a better player than Kobe was. May Kobe rest in peace, right? And it's like, but Jordan embraced Kobe, but not me. Well, part of the reason I think he embraced Kobe is they're both similar as players and even personalities off the court. I mean, I've said this a million times. Jordan, Kobe, Tiger Woods, Barry Bonds, Tom Brady, in my lifetime, 5 guys that were literally sociopaths. So I think they all kind of connect. LeBron's not that guy. He's wired differently than them. But I think part of it is that Jordan knew Kobe was never going to surpass him.
Right.
I think he does think that LeBron can surpass him. Some of us think he's already done that. So, yeah, maybe to get away from Jordan, he goes with 6. And maybe that's the goal is to win 6 titles, which he needs 2 more. So use that number. I don't know what goes through his head. Sometimes he complicates things and overthinks it, but I think it's done, obviously, maybe for money for the movie. Who knows?
Yeah, it'll pick up the jersey sales, and he's a smart businessman, so it could be entirely for money. I do think that there's a piece of it that has to do with Jordan, especially now that it's becoming even louder as LeBron's career is coming closer to its end, and the whole Last Dance thing just came out, and the Lakers just won a title last year, and so people are talking about it even more. And I think the less he directly invites the comparison, I think the better it is for him. He wants it to be a more natural discussion as opposed to him sort of forcing it. So it makes more sense for him to try to separate himself from it and have other people do it for him.
Yeah, I just wish he'd done this like 18 years ago. Why? I mean, but again, he was 18 years old.
He was 18. That's why. Yeah.
He was 18 at the point. And he loved Michael Jordan. And then Michael Jordan never really embraced him. So now he's got number 23. Look, 25 would be a cool number because, again, 23.
By the way, he'll never embrace
Kobe,
him.
25.
It's never going to happen.
No, it's never going to happen. They could be the last 2 men on earth, and he's never going to embrace him. I mean, it's just never going to happen. LeBron's going to own an NBA team, and then they'll be at a owners meeting, and they won't even embrace. And obviously, they're the 2 greatest players ever. 25 would be a cool number because of that progression, but he can't even wear 25 with the Lakers because Gail Goodrich wore that, and that number's retired. The Lakers have a lot of retired numbers as well, as they should.
6 should be retired throughout the league for Bill Russell.
It really should. It really, you got it. And so should 23. I mean, why not? I mean, you got a bunch of numbers. I mean, Jay Crowder was 99. So, I mean, he's got all sorts of options there. So, not that we should retire 99.
Has 77.
Yeah, whatever number you have, it looks fine. So, yeah, I think 6 should be retired. I mean, 23, obviously, it's Michael Jordan's number. But then when does it end? I mean, we're going to get LeBron.
That's the problem.
Those are the 2 numbers he's won. There was a slight discussion that 24 or 8 would be retired because of Kobe. But, I mean, now it's just – now we're going to Bird 33, Magic 32. Let's retire everybody's numbers. I mean, in baseball – it's Jackie Robinson, and that, maybe Babe Ruth's number should have been retired, but that's about it.
Yeah. All right. Last topic, Sap, in our lightning round show. And why should we end anywhere else? Because we've done this a million times already this year. Kevin Durant in another feud, this time with Jay Williams. Jay Williams was recounting a conversation he had with Kevin Durant at some event, party, whatever, a couple years ago. Jay Williams was talking about Giannis and comparing him to Kevin Durant. Sort of, and I guess that pissed Durant off. Durant said, "Never compare me to Giannis," and then Jay Williams recounted that story. Durant said he was lying, and on it goes as Kevin Durant just, is paying attention to basically anything that has his name in it. He knows that it's happening. He knows He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. You cannot avoid Kevin Durant having those ultimate antenna ears.
He's so good on the court. I think he could play while holding a cell phone in one hand, right? Like, he's dribbling with his right hand. He's got a cell phone in his left hand. And he's checking notifications.
I think he does
any
at
mention of his
halftime.
name.
That's all he's doing.
And why not? Because he just goes out and scores as many points as he needs to. Jay Williams said that if Kevin Durant and Shaq had a baby, it'd be Giannis, which I think is kind of a poor comparison, because Giannis can't shoot like Kevin Durant. Like, that's not even a discussion. Maybe he was saying the same size, but the physical dominance of Shaq. I don't know what Jay Williams is doing. Jay Williams is on TV, radio 4 hours a day. He's going to say some things. I don't know if he's telling the truth, if Durant's telling the truth. Who the hell knows? But Durant finds a need to, push back with all of this. I don't know. Does this fuel him, you think? Is this just his way to get motivated?
No.
Okay, you just think he's that thin-skinned because he wasn't quite like this early in his career, but obviously
because everybody liked him.
He was going to be the guy, right? I mean, I will never forget LeBron made the decision. Everyone attacked him except for a few of us who said, well, he's a young kid. He raised money for the Boys and Girls Club. Let's get over the fact he didn't do anything bad. I mean, it may have been tone deaf, the decision, but okay, let's move on from that. And at the same time, within the next year, didn't Kevin Durant just tweet out that he was signing an extension with Oklahoma City, and people were like, wow, this guy's such a great guy, a superstar. He wins the MVP in 2014, and it's one of the best MVP speeches we've ever seen with his mom. And it's like, this guy is, everything you want. Kind of, his whole game is very simple. Like it doesn't seem like there's a lot of work to play with him. I've been thinking this more and more, that of the two best players right now in the NBA, Durant and LeBron, I have to catch myself, LeBron and Durant's easier to play with. Right? I mean, because he's really, as a player on the court, not a lot of work. I mean,
he's not demanding.
Goes down. He's not. No, LeBron, the offense is going to run through LeBron. He's going to decide things. And kind of like Chris Paul, they're the floor general. And sometimes that can rub people the wrong way.
Durant's just there to score.
Durant's just the guy that, oh, okay, here's the ball. Let me just put it in the basket. I mean, he amazes me. He really does, because it's just like I watch the guy and go, this is ridiculous how good the guy is.
I think the problem is not playing with him. Playing with him is incredibly easy. I feel like you kind of have to walk around eggshells. You could say something that it won't affect his game, but you could say something that could piss him off and he just won't like you anymore. Right. Nothing affects his game.
No, and I think you could probably – I don't think LeBron's as thin-skinned. I think if players – on that team don't like LeBron and let him know about it, I think he can get over that. Like, I'm sure Kyrie...
He is a little thin-skinned, but I agree with you. He can get over it. Durant is the most thin-skinned player I've ever seen. He's Donald Trump level of thin-skinned.
Yeah. I mean, makes Aaron Rodgers look like, an alligator or a crocodile. I mean, because Aaron, I'm using his first name like we're going out to dinner later, but Rodgers is a thin-skinned guy. And look, whatever motivates players is the case. Jordan at some point was thin-skinned. He seemed to hear everything.
He was making things up.
He was making things up. Yeah, like, this guy who was the eighth
But
he
did it to motivate himself.
Whatever it is to motivate. With Durant, I don't know. He's just so damn good. I don't know if he even needs motivation.
I don't think he does. I think he's just sensitive.
No. He's sensitive, and he's again, I've said this a million times. I think when you're married with kids and businesses like LeBron has, I don't think you have as much time to just engage in social media. And LeBron does engage in social media, but not to the point like Durant, who I don't even know if he's got a significant other or kids or whatever. I know he's got some sort of businesses, but I don't think he's hands-on like LeBron. Like, he's got a lot of idle time. Like, he's probably sitting in his home playing video games, then on his phone. And when he sees any mentions or notifications, he goes off, because that's just the way he is.
You can look at it an interesting way as this is an interesting way to look at it, is what I want to say before I get tongue tied. When LeBron went to Miami, he became the villain of the league.
Yep.
But eventually figured out, he kind of shucked it off. And it just, at some point, it didn't bother him personally anymore. I don't think.
He didn't like it, but he knew how to deal with it.
Durant, it hasn't affected either of their games. I'm not saying that. Durant, once he went from Oklahoma City to Golden State, he has never liked it. He's never got it. I think LeBron understood why. After all the decision and the whole thing, he understood, okay, I left my hometown team. I kind of did it in a spectacle fashion, embarrassing the hometown team. I get why people aren't so crazy about me right now. I still think to this day, Durant doesn't understand it. Has never understood why he was beloved in Oklahoma City and then became the biggest villain in the league. I for some reason, it's not registering with him, and it hasn't registered with him, and I don't think it ever will register with him.
I think it's a case of LeBron's more self-aware than Durant. I mean, LeBron, after 4 years in Miami, did go back to Cleveland. You got to give him credit for that. Like, I couldn't see Durant next year saying, okay, I'm not going to opt into my third or fourth year with the Nets, whatever the case may be, and I'm going back to Oklahoma City. I don't think Durant could pull that off. Now, LeBron was a unique situation because that's his hometown. I mean, Akron to Cleveland is an hour. You know, Durant grew up in Washington, D.C. So
he could have gone to the Wizards. There was talk about that. He could have
went. Yeah, I mean, I guess he had an audience here with the Celtics, led by Tom Brady and Kelly Olynyk. Just because I always like to put those two guys together. So I think LeBron's a little more self-aware than Durant. And I also wonder, LeBron I think he's got a good team around him, right? And I think they're at the point now where they've been successful on their own, that they can kind of not necessarily push back LeBron, but be real with him. And that's good.
I think it's less and more the wife and kids aspect of it.
He's got that going for him. That's so true, Jet. I think, again, I don't know Durant's
and it's his high school
life,
sweetheart.
Nor do I
she
care.
can say, LeBron, this is, why do you care
she
about
knew
this?
him
because
when he
you have
was
kids. Not famous.
She knew him when
Very
he was
few
LeBron
people
James
knew him when he was not famous.
Down the hall in English class or whatever. So she can say, hey, look, and I'm sure his mother's somewhat involved. I think obviously Durant's mom seems like a great lady too, and is close to her son. It's just, look, these guys are under an incredible amount of pressure. The contracts they sign, these huge sneaker deals, but just how suffocating it must be. When Jordan was playing, you didn't have ESPN with 9 hours a day of constant talk, or Fox Sports 1 with 9 hours a day of constant talk. And essentially
is the worst.
Twitter is just obviously incredible. Now you've got players interacting with fans. I mean, could you picture Michael Jordan if he was on Twitter? I mean, he's not even on Twitter now. He's my age. He's an owner. He probably says it's beneath him to do that. These guys are under an incredible amount of pressure. And Adam Silver said that. Adam Silver, the great commissioner of the NBA, said, I can't understand, and I've got to find out why so many of my players are unhappy. They're making great money. They're loved for the most part. And for some reason, they're just not happy with the situation they're in. They do live in a fishbowl, and that can't be easy. You've got to be a certain type of person to deal with that. And maybe Durant just can't deal with that. But you know what?
No.
As you said, Jet, does not impact him on the court one bit. He goes on the court and he's in a zone. Like nothing seems to bother him.
No, it doesn't affect him at all on the court. I think that there's just, like I said, a disconnect that he was basically, if you polled fans in, when he was in his prime, Oklahoma City prime, do you like Kevin Durant or not? It would have been like 99% yes. I like Kevin Durant. And now it's probably closer to a 50-50. I mean, the players are always going to be more popular than they're not, because casual fans like players for their talent. So more people like Kevin Durant than dislike Kevin Durant. Just like more people like LeBron than dislike LeBron.
Sure.
There's a lot of people who dislike him, but there's more who like him. Same with Durant. But I think that huge shift, that huge paradigm shift, and he had basically an 100% approval rating to about a 50% approval rating. He's just never been able to get why. And he goes, well, my biggest problem was I wasn't winning championships. I went to Golden State. I won championships as the best player on the team. Why? What's the problem?
Right.
I just don't think he's been able to get it. There's some block there.
Not self-aware. And right now in the league, I think the most beloved player that probably has like a 98-2 ratio of dislike is probably Steph Curry.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I would say. I mean, the girls love him. The players in women's basketball love him. Every little kid loves him. Older guys, they're like, I can't.
Yeah,
never
I'm part
seen
of the
a guy
2%
shoot like this.
that doesn't like.
You are part of the 2%. Yeah, I think he's fantastic, and he. Yeah, I mean, he beat my guy 3 out of 4 times in the finals, so I can't love him too much. Although it was the help of other players that beat my guy, but so be it.
Including Kevin Durant.
That was a pretty good team they put together out there.
Decent team, and he's got a pretty good team in Brooklyn too. That's going to do it for us here at the Pick and Roll NBA podcast with Jet and Sap. As always, we're presented by Full Press Coverage. Make sure you check out their website, fullpresscoverage.com, for this and other great podcasts and articles. And you can find this podcast wherever podcasts are found. We're going to keep you updated with all the latest stuff going on in the NBA playoffs, any rumors, coaching carousel stuff. We got you covered. We'll be doing more of these. I'm sure a lot more of these in the off season of these sort of like lightning round things. So make sure you are checking our Twitters for the latest at JohnSap25 or at Jet Stryer. And we'll talk to you later. See you, everybody.